turn our attention to the Fnatic series, though, and KC just made fun of them, picking them apart, a quick 3-0 stomp. This is a different KC going up against this KOI today.
And Redhead talked about on Euphoria, saying, look, we needed to go back to playing our game. Focus on Dragons, focus on playing our style, focusing on our team fights, and that's kind of what we got to see against Fnatic. It was clean, it was calculated, they knew where they needed to be on the Rift. But have they learned from the drafts that they had last time around against MKOI? Picks like Trundle, picks like the Galio from MKOI, kind of catching KC off. We'll have to see if they're going to be more prepared this time around.
What's open for first, gentlemen, in our Game 1 draft?
Senna. It's something that the last time these teams faced, we saw Jace permanently banned away from the side of KOI. They didn't want to hand that over to Canna, and KOI put a very high priority on trying to take Senna out of the pool. Now they see themselves as wanting to get it very early on in this series. The likely response from Caliste is going to be something like the Varus or potentially the Ezreal, two of his most played from this split.
Yeah, we have seen teams starting to pick up things like the Smolder to try and match that scaling from the Senna, but we'll have to see if that is going to be the same, because it looks like they're going to try and take that firepower into the bottom lane, but Pantheon already taken off the board. I thought they might actually go for something like the Xin Zhao, because I feel like that's where Elyoya will try and take a lot of his aggression. Yeah. Something like a Senna to pair alongside this incredibly strong early game skirmishing jungler always works great.
Yike is definitely known for playing the Pantheon, but so far in playoffs he hasn't been bringing it out, which means that coming into this best of 5, I think it's both a denial, taking away some of that early global side lane pressure that MKOI love to try and leverage, but also giving them a little bit more early game options, because by locking in the Kalista, KC is already setting up the game plan that we want to attack bot lane.
Now we just have to see Elyoya going to go for the Xin Zhao. I imagine the Nautilus will be next to follow. That's kind of been the pairing that we've seen alongside the Senna,
also, if they pick
yet to be revealed.
Well.
As you could also try and leave it, like there are plenty of things that we could pair with the Senna on the bottom side. You've seen like Alistair, you've seen Gragas, we've seen plenty of other stuff, but I think that would be the priority here for me.
Ooh, the Ahri Vi might very well be the direction from MKOI. It's something that we did see early on in the series, the last time that they played up against each other, with Taliyah taken away. That Pantheon Taliyah combo is something that they're not as scared of, so getting yourself the Ahri not only gives a comfort pick for Jojo, but also sets you up nicely with a large plethora of junglers. Prioritizing the Gwen, definitely surprising me here from KOI.
So I think the call is saying, look, you could potentially go for the Rumble here as KC on red side. Yeah. So MKOI trying to preemptively say, hey, we're going to take the Gwen, deny you going for the Rumble, and then being able to ban away the Gwen and the Galio, which MKOI did bring out the last time around. So we'll have to see if it is just going to be mid or top.
Because last time we had a big discussion that, like, Canna doesn't really play that defensive. We had a Cassante game, but, you know, I think we also had a Song game, if I'm not mistaken. That's about it. So Myrwn really throwing the odds in the pool.
What I think is really interesting about this Gwen is because, as you highlight, Dagda, it's very much about forcing KC into a choice. Do you want to lock in your support here to get a good matchup with the Kalista? Do you want to try and respond to our mid lane pick or our top lane pick? Because now we get the pick of the litter of what we can take away from you. So by removing the Renata, it means that if they had picked Nautilus themselves, the likelihood of a Renata coming through with the Kalista would have been a not very favorable bot lane. But now they get a lot of comfort in both top, mid, and bot, and there's still a very deep jungle pool for them to play with.
I still don't think Canna has good options here. Like, you can go for the Jax, especially since we're not getting banned support that top lane, more of a focus on towards the support pool. So could end up taking the Jax, could even end up taking something like the Invest if you really want to, and Canna had that pop-off performance on it the other day. But also Canna quite comfortable on the Gnar, which can work in there. But even banning the Rumble here from MKOI, even with a matchup that is decent, they just don't want to give that over towards Canna.
So, boys, I'm a bit distracted. It is like a nightclub in here. And they've finally shown up. I know it was a little bit quiet last time we saw KC. That should get them riled, though, because I'm seeing either an Akali top or a Ryze top for game 1.
Yeah, I think that might be an Akali top as an answer into the Gwen. It gives you a bit of early trading power. But I don't know how much I really believe in the matchup. I mean, this is the thing you've always got to... I'm excited to see what Canna can bring. Usually we think of Myrwn as the counter pick guy, but Canna, we know how well he plays on the carries. Let's see what ends up being top lane.
The surprising thing to me is that they're showing it this early. I would have assumed that, hey, you were going to try and take something a little bit, like, even if you want to take support here, take the Rell, say you're totally happy in that bottom side, but kind of showing themselves, or at least keeping the Targamas the counter pick. But again, it kind of leaves you going, hey, well, where do we want to try and fill out the rest of the draft? It could easily be the Ryze top, though. Like, push into the Gwen. The only thing is it's hard to land your EW, the route, into the Shroud. So, yeah, I'm curious exactly what the game plan is here.
Good answer. We've got strong AD threats, strong AP threats. Where's he engaged, though, so far outside of the Pantheon, Jensen, outside of Kalista role?
I think you just take the Alistar here.
Yeah.
I think that's how you round it out. It's good into the Rell on the bottom side. You've got the option then to go for the engage. Kalista can set you up as well, but is it the Rakan instead holding off?
They're thinking about faster engage, it seems. The ability to snap engage, paired alongside the Pantheon and the Ryze. I mean, this KC composition, I would say it's volatile in the sense that very squishy. The first thing I notice is when you think if you're second onto an objective and you have to face check, who's that champion that's going to be the first to walk in? Pantheon, maybe because he has the E, the ability to block things, but like it's very squishy team. But on side lanes, it's terrifying. Their ability to skirmish, duel is very threatening, but at the same time, KOI have really good scaling thanks to the Senna. They've got good pick potential. They have solid teamplay options thanks to both the Gwen, the Wukong, and the Rell. I feel like on paper, KOI's composition is just very well-rounded.
And I think this is something that KC did to a good extent in Game 2 versus MKOI, where they end up like bypassing things like the Azir, which was left open. They first pick the Yone and they say, hey, we want to try and play for side lanes and play through that strength. They get these early leads and then they start to rotate around the map well, and that was kind of what we saw from KC against Fnatic 2. So looks like that's what KC are saying, this is the winning formula. Let's just try and continue it here.
All we request in this best of 5 is a game of brilliance. And what we got in our first series, our round 1 with KC, picked up KOI and chose them to battle it out. It was exactly that. The fans are out from Spain, from France alike. They have filled up our stadium, our studio, 200 plus people rearing to go. Remember, the trophies and opportunities are taken, they're not given, between KOI and KC, between France and Spain. This is war in this best of 5.
And it's a bit of a role reversal from what we saw in Winter. In Winter, it was MKOI who were knocked down to the lower bracket by KC, where they have to face off against the 6th place team, beat Fnatic, face off against them again in this 3rd place match. This time around, it's actually KC who have to do that same route through that lower bracket, but can things be different now for MKOI? Can they take down KC a second time and put themselves towards MSI in finals? Or can KC find that rematch of the Winter finals against G2?
And then the desk was talking a lot about it as we get a small invade here from Targamas, but Supa and Alvaro felt like they're on a different page, or at least insane page versus the KC bot lane last time. I think you guys, were we casting that together? Was it the 3 of us doing that?
It was Nightmare.
Oh, it was. But we were here.
You use it the same though, right?
Yeah, right, it's true.
Oh, that's why it's the accent.
It's true. But it's the last time that they played up against each other, honestly, it really did feel like KOI were in the driver's seat for the majority of that series. Game 2, KC did get an early lead. They then made a massive throw into the Baron play, and then there was a counter throw from KOI. It was a bloody back and forth, which is a really good description of the series. I feel like that Elyoya, we were talking about it earlier, Dagda, he was the big player in the early game that was building these leads for KOI and how he controlled Yike. But also as a philosophy, KOI did a very good job of limiting Canna's impact on the game. And like you see it in the stats as well. When Canna was ahead, when Canna was having impact in the game, that is when we saw KC be a menace to deal with.
Yeah, and that's where I think a lot of that focus from Elyoya was shut down Yike in the mid lane, but also towards that top side, and see if you can just take him out of the equation. Especially on the Rumble, it was like, hey, we're just not going to fight, we're going to try and control things, and a huge amount of it, Supa actually has to flash away in the bottom side already.
Big summoner.
Yeah, but it was KC saying, hey, we want to try and fight towards things like Dragon, but burning key ultimates before that objective, and that's what made it very difficult for them in those later portions. So I think that's what I'll be keeping my eyes out today, is to see, have KC learned from overextending pre-objective fights, or can MKOI continue to punish through that?
Well, so far, KC are playing with the push in bot lane. They also have the push in top. Of course, Canna picking this Akali into the Gwen. One of my concerns about that matchup is that it's possible to dodge the E from Akali depending on how far away she is from the Gwen. Sure. But Canna very confident in the matchup given that he is picking into it, and the fact that they're both running Ignite, it's a very volatile top lane. You've got to be very conscious about how you use your mobility skills, because the presence of a jungler can very quickly swing that matchup.
I think it also means that it's going to be difficult in the later portion of the game for MKOI to really utilize their Oh, actually, hang on a second. Supa no flash.
Engage, but Supa is blocked for the time being. Kalista steps up to the plate, but Alvaro's in the way.
But sorry, I was going to say, for MKOI to really use their engage tools, right? Everyone in MKOI wants to go forward. Alvaro jumps in, Elyoya follows, Jojopyun trying to snipe with a charm. But if you've suddenly got an Akali who's dishing out damage onto your Senna in the back line, it's full retreat mode for MKOI. So trying to manage this Akali in the later portion of the game can be tough if Canna's in a good spot.
And you can see in this early skirmish, it's very easy for the Akali to bully out the Gwen. You just have that slight range advantage thanks to your Q. You don't run out of mana like the Gwen does, which means that in the wars of attrition, you do just end up winning, especially if Myrwn can't get those grasp procs off. But in terms of farm, they're both doing very, very well. Oh, I do notice Myrwn is very low on the top side of the map.
He senses that. Spidey senses walking in. Yeah, top just solo killed. We'll pause for now because KC, this is their invade. KOI want to ward them off and get Yike out, but the level 4 Pantheon will not cede to anyone. Smite down from Yike, full health bar. Elyoya pays respect and pays the price.
I mean, while this skirmish is happening on the bot side of the map, I really hope we get a replay because Canna just straight up solo kills Myrwn on the top side of the map. We were talking about how the matchup is favorable, especially in the early game, and then Canna just finds, I guess, a dive underneath the tower.
I mean, he was called the solo kill king in 2020 LCK, and we get to see it here as well. Myrwn just not respected it yet underneath the tower. Great combo from Canna, and walks out scot-free.
He doesn't have flash, of course, so both summoners now burned as he teleports back. But that's a big kill, and Vedi, I was going to come in and chime in with the mana you were talking about. Myrwn had none of it. Canna had all of it. And now with that solo kill, Canna once again in a good place in another matchup.
But also just connecting that E in the 1v1 matchups, it's so much damage. Not only because it procs the passive, but also just the raw damage of it is so high. Yeah. So by connecting that and with the Ignite, just a great solo kill from Canna. And we talked about how Elyoya did a good job of mitigating his impact in the previous series. Well, he's already off to the races here in game 1.
Look where the wave's at. Oh, that's rough for Myrwn.
Yeah, the fact you get to hold it here, but also the fact that Myrwn doesn't know where Yike is. He did just reset to go back to base, but he has a fairly decent idea that Yike is probably on this top side of the map, so you can see how much respect he has to give, and Canna is just bluffing that the jungler is here at any point in time, so Myrwn has to fall back.
Also, Vladi is doing a nice thing. If you keep your eyes on the minimap, every now and then he's just walking into Fog of War. That threat, that presence of a potential roam forces both the top and bot side to play a little bit more defensively, especially when we turn our attention back to bot lane and look at the state of the wave. Supa stuck underneath this tower. The push continues to come through from Caliste and Targamas, getting that early summoner spell from Supa. Right now, Yike doesn't need to do anything because his laners are just popping off.
And I think that's the big difference here that we saw this game so far versus the last series. It's KC burning summoner spells on bottom, being able to punish now for Dragon. Canna being able to get that solo win as well on that top side. This is KC, at least 6 minutes in, having a very strong start to this series.
Now, the swap that we would typically expect, you've got to be very careful if you're KC because you want to keep these matchups if you can. It's not ideal for you to have Akali playing in the 2 versus 1, even if she has this kill, and you also don't want to alleviate the pressure that's coming down onto Supa and Alvaro. So while you might turn your attention to the grubs, ideally you just want to play into where KOI send their laners.
They even look for a play on the bottom side as well. Yike hovering here, and Supa's flash is just not quite off cooldown. True. Push is coming. Ryze is moving. I think this is a dive.
As you said, full mana bar on Vladi as well, so he's got a lot to play with in resources. Yike is probably getting sniffed out here by Supa and Alvaro. Alvaro walking up to the wave. Supa, so cautious. Dagda, a really good call out on the summoner spell because it's up in about 5 seconds, and now Elyoya is now here to shadow to help out as those plates start falling down.
Yeah, the thing is, though, you could see on the mini-map that basically Ryze had moved down to here, as Vedi was saying, just hovering the river, but it meant that Jojo had to go the whole way down here. You've now also called the jungler into position as well to try and protect this, but the wave just died underneath the tower, and that's all that KC really needed. They just play patient and get the win.
And that's the beauty of it. The threat of the dive was enough to get them what they want. The CS discrepancy, there's a 25 CS gap already between the 280 carries. Yeah. Calista's built himself up a 600 gold lead. The boots have now been upgraded with the recurve bow as he makes his way back to bot lane. And just, again, the KC side lanes right now going super well. And even if Vladi's a little bit behind, he's doing what he needs to because he's just using the threat of Fog of War. And while KOI are doing what they can to cover for vision, the reality is that even if they spot him, the fact that he can just ulti into a spot means that they can't.
Well, then we go back to something that KOI might have to start leading on again like they did in the last series, which is this man right here who once again got one of his best champions, his most comfortable champions as well. Jojo, this split has been pretty good. He's getting ganked. He's also healed up by Targamas, or rather, the movement's been given over. Good charm in the end. Jojo not able to dodge up. I hope I didn't curse him under turret. Vladi going to chunk him, but this is the overload. But Jojo now low with teleport on a bit of a cooldown.
Yeah, Jojo had a fantastic time on the Ahri last time around. It was a case of, hey, we're going to try and put pressure in towards this mid lane with Elyoya playing towards mid, putting pressure onto Vladi and opening up him to go for some of these dives and plays and even turn around that fantastic dive in the top lane where KC tried to take him with 3 members. But here, hasn't found that same success. The Elyoya just not quite as strong in the early games as Pantheon, and KC starting to run away with him.
And notice again, KC bringing their bot lane to where KOI's bot lane is. They're keeping them matched. They're keeping the top lane matchup matched as well. Now KC in a position to secure these grubs, but KOI...
engage turn, great by Alvaro again on Rell. He gets the Magma Storm and Vladi. He's kaput. Over to Jojo to start the fight off. A Cyclone into a Yike who decided to be here. His ulti's already down. Yike has no escape, and Elyoya knows it. What a punishment, what a charm again! This is what you don't give Jojo, this sexy little fox.
Alvaro was huge on that engage. The flash 3-man sets up for the stun on Vladi. Ryze is rinsed, and MKOI stand tall.
I mean, KOI just got tired of being pushed around. A fantastic engage from Alvaro as he connects onto 2. The Ryze is chain CC'd and has nowhere to go. Kalista's trying his damnedest to get the damage out. He doesn't quite have enough to get the kill onto Alvaro. And then Elyoya knows, with his level 6 still up, with a dash on the ulti from Jojo as well. Canna joins the fight, but there's little that he can do. And they get 3 kills for nothing.
Huge fight there as well. I'm going to give you a grub count in a second where 2 taken by KC, 1 denied by KOI, and a 1k or rather 500 gold lead that's come out of thin air when those side lanes were getting bullied, bruised, battered so damn hard in this early game. Now mitigated, and let's not forget, guys, Jojo came out of that lane with a bit of a gold lead. He now surmounts a kill with Lost Chapter in his pocket as well.
I also think just Supa getting the early kill as well helps out because he was starting to fall very far behind. You can see about 25, 26 CS difference there for Caliste. So if you can actually get him to a static shift, he can now contest in the wave. He's in just a better position overall. And as you say, side lane's now a little bit nicer for them. And even Myrwn in that fight as well, doing a good job of just keeping Canna out. He ended up using that ultimate to just keep Canna at arm's reach and deny him access to the fight, because you can see if he could actually get on towards Supa or anyone there, it could have been a very different story.
Ultimately, though, when we look at the game state as a whole, it's not the end of the world for KC. What that play did was kind of close the gap that had been built. So now KC's laners that were being bullied on side, as Dagda was saying, they're just not as far behind as they were. The static shiv now being completed on Supa provides him with a lot more wave clear. But KC, they still have 2 grubs to 1. They still have the first dragon. The next dragon is spawning now. And I feel like KOI, their priority should not be trying to fight, force the fights here, especially when, like,
ooh, big execution. Starts us up, doesn't it? Ignites down. Myrwn not tagged because outside the W, I believe. Canna doesn't get the damage off, but it's turning into a dive. Dagda, is Myrwn dead?
I think he is, Yike.
It's quickness. The meter work's going to help out, isn't it? But for how long? Close with an easy kill and an easy dive.
Yeah, I think this is actually huge for KC, because if you end up going for some kind of fight here, Yike's ultimate isn't quite off cooldown. Vladi just uses in the top side, so they kind of wanted that pick to cement something here. And now you end up leaning over towards the dragon. Vladi playing very safe under the mid lane tower, denying MKOI any sort of answer.
Also just a smooth rotation. The push in mid, into the rotation, through to the bot side jungle. They drop some wards, they make the dive happen. All set up initially by Canna's play. Just, again, you can see this coordination from KC in the early game looks very good. But KOI, I feel like that one of their biggest strengths is their ability to find team fights. The way in which they snap engage on the team fights. And again, keep track of Elyoya. He's just continuing to farm up. He has a small gold lead for now, but crucially, completing that Trinity Force, a very expensive item in the early game, kind of covered for thanks to the fact that he got that early kill. And now, like, KOI is sparking very nicely on these first items.
Yeah, I think this is, though, when you come to side lanes, MKOI have to be a little careful because Yike has that ultimate up and available, and we've seen how well Canna's been training against Myrwn on the side lane. So if you end up going low as Myrwn against Canna, it's very easy for Yike to try and ult in there. You can see Myrwn kind of giving that respect as the wave is pushing away from him, which is going to continue to open up the CLS lead for Canna bit by bit. But looks like MKOI moving bot side, they want to try and break that.
Elyoya is spot on a ward for now. There's no objective down here. It's simply as well just giving a bit of coverage as the wave pushes up. Alvaro to do the same thing. Canna's very slippery. His ulti's almost back up and available, if not now, actually. As you see in the top right-hand corner. I guess we'll just wait till the Herald comes through, and I'm glad. I'm glad that already we've had a lot of deep thinking coming through from KC, a lot of adaptation it seems from the last series, as MKOI doing the same.
Look at the difference on the map though. We've got MKOI all hovering bot side, and we got Yike and Targamas now who are looking across map, get the vision down. You've even got Caliste moving up. They want to make a play towards Jojo, I think, but he realizes it. No wave there, so he's just going to try and back away. Maybe even full reset so they can't look for anything.
The vision control from KC is good. They're keeping track of what Elyoya is up to as he continues to farm through his jungle. Yike, though, yet to have a hugely impactful ultimate. He does have it available. I mean, in an ideal world, I think he wants to try and play with Kalista and Targamas. I think they have some of the best setup, potentially alongside the Ryze as well, if you can get in range. But trying to gank an Ahri is very difficult just because she has both the flash and the ultimate available to her. This mid lane, though, being as short as it is, and Supa playing incredibly safe, Yike doesn't have a huge amount of options, so I imagine the Rift Herald will be the next big point of contention. I think it's important for both sides. KC with their composition that's very skirmish heavy, side lane dominant, ideally want to use it to break open this mid lane tower because of how difficult it can be to siege with this composition of KC, but KOI, they can use it to slow the game down. They can deny that ability of KC to siege and also just have a bit of threat on the side lane towers as well.
I think MKOI would really like Myrwn to be able to finish his first item before that next objective, because TP is basically going to be up across the board for that Rift Herald fight, but not having that Rift Maker, looks like he's about to reset maybe for now, does make things tough, but that bottom tower, very low, so if Myrwn ends up resetting for that item, I think it makes it a little tough then for you contest both Rift Herald and bottom tower, so I think that's where KC trying to put that pinch on them to make that tough call.
And since the Gwen change, these items feel so much more impactful. Her mid game, as we know, has been strengthened so heartily by Riot. So that item call out Dagda is really, really important, considering that now Herald spawns in a second, Alvaro's getting pushed out, KC have priority over the river, with Yike already showing up in the back of it.
Canna doing a really good job of keeping the pressure up, as Dagda was saying. He just wants to keep Myrwn underneath the tower, doesn't want to allow him the opportunity to base. It looks like he's going to push in this last wave though, has the TP available, and he's going to go back and spend some gold. It looks like the Herald going to be started off. I'm expecting our next battle to happen around here.
But seeing Alvaro with Flash with Magnustorm available, like last fight in the same spot, is a danger I need to watch against KC.
I think wards like this, though, are going to be dangerous for the Akali, because she can always TP in behind MKOI as they try and contest. So you can kind of see, okay, it's going to be the gate out, but Canna always has these options to go for it as Alvaro.
Engages onto Alvaro. It's a quickness in response. Targamas starts it off. Crash down is disengaged. TP comes first out of Myrwn. On the other side, I see Jojo teleporting to another angle in front of a ward because it picked off Yike, who ran in charm. Went astray. It's not the same as last fight. It's Cyclone as well in the back. Canna rinsing them. He's going to die. That's the trade-off, though. With the pressure he's provided, he's made it a 4-for-4. Rather, excuse me, it's KOI with numbers down.
Canna taking down Jojo and Alvaro. Looked a little dicey as he went into the backline, but here we go.
This is the semi-global that adds even more. Myrwn's caught out. This is like a fridge without a freezer. What's the point? Kalista's going to take him down, and another bite the dust.
The snap engage from KC is very difficult for KOI to deal with. When it's KC that decide the terms of the fight, is Caliste getting very low.
It is a Senna with one item.
TP will come in to keep Caliste healthy. The dragon is spawning, and I think everyone's taken too much damage, so now KC needs to get back out onto the map. No objective going to be gained, even though they found a number of kills.
And still, though, everyone in KC moving down towards dragon. That's going to be the focus. Alvaro stepping forward, but no room prison to keep him in place just yet.
Alvaro doesn't have his Magnet Storm, though. If this turns into a fight, the big engage that we've relied on, which we didn't see last fight, is not there. Crash down regardless. Targamas caught out. His Celestial Blessing behind time, and Caliste comes in to save the play. Front to back now with the Fates call as well, and Canna finding the cutoff angle. The top laner, Korean, is doing it again with a Shuriken Flip land in place. Elyoya will drop where he stands. KC are winning fights back to back.
KC have come to play. They want to right the wrongs that MKOI had the last time they faced off. And every fight, KC are turning back against MKOI.
KC are keeping it very simple. They're just picking a target and killing them, then turning their attention onto the next target. There is no coordinated front-to-back play coming out from KOI. They are disconnected in how they approach these fights. And KC individually are just outplaying them.
Yeah, you can see it here as you start to step forward. Targamas is fine to go forward. He always has the fate's call to keep himself safe, and as Alvaro engages on him, he's got no way to get out. Room prison, CC down. Targamas next to follow, and Canna was in the top half of the map, so he just walks down to cut off the escape, set up for the play. His ultimate's about to come off cooldown as well, but doesn't even need it. It's just KC, as Vedi was saying, take your pick, finish them off, and just continue rolling through them.
And they find themselves already at soul point. 18 minutes into the game, 3 dragons secured.
Jojo, he was in the middle of the way, but now he's in trouble. Yike's going to get the stun down. Last of the Spirit Rush, but he's not getting out. Jojo down for Vladi. And this Ahri game will not be the same as his last.
It's just a skirmish composition. This is exactly what KC want, to find lots of little fights and turn them in their favor.
They still have the ult from Yike as well if they really want to contest on towards this. Realm Warp from Vladi, almost off cooldown. MKOI, they have to abandon ship. They know they don't have the numbers advantage they need to get the cross map.
The fish struggling to breathe in water here. KC will readily take over this big bite pond as KOI still have 10 seconds. Jojo not up and available, and no TP to join in. At least for now, Alvaro's presence delays the play. KC going to reset here, but on a ward, stopping the back. Won't come in as they see Caliste return.
KC just want to get back, spend their gold. You can already see 2 items now completed for Caliste. Should be second item completed for Vladi on this reset as well. And now you can just brute force your way into a ton of these objectives. It's just been really good from KC, utilizing all these globals to keep pressure up continuously on the map.
So we find ourselves now approaching the 20-minute mark. Do a quick Senna stacks check-in. 60 is normally about the average, and it looks like Supa's about on pace. But KOI find themselves with the game slowly slipping away from them as KC continue to find picks and skirmishes that go in their favor. Targamas continues to take control over the space, and Caliste is right there behind him. Has the ultimate to take him to safety should they need. You can see how the momentum has very much shifted in favor of KC.
It does feel like a great lane for Caliste, and Targamas has shifted from what we saw last time when Supa and Alvaro are able to outplay. Canna doing the same. Myrwn brings out the needlework, but he's going to need it against different members. KC flanked from the foreground, but in front, Canna stands his ground. Teleport to send him away with Herald to block and take the turret. KC have top open as well, while Jojo's trying to get bot.
I was going to say, honestly, nicely done by Myrwn. TP out, so he doesn't end up dying. You end up using Rift Herald for a trade of towers, so KC kind of need to get a little bit more, but they're not really going to be able to. So even though KC have the lead, at least that's MKOI kind of evening the play for Rift Herald, but Elyoya maybe fishing for more.
Myrwn going to catch this top wave, so he will at the very least get something back. Jojo kind of draws our attention once again. The last time we saw him on this champion against KC, he had some incredible charm plays, and I think he's going to have to find some picks for his team if they want to start swinging these fights in their favor. But crucially, I think it's a matter of Alvaro being the one to initiate the fights for KOI. Right now, we're seeing KC basically decide how a lot of these fights are happening, and it's also important that KOI coordinate together as a 5-man unit around how they want to approach on these fights. Because you've got to remember that KC have multiple damage threats. Even if you manage to catch out Caliste, that might not be enough, as Canna will have free reign on your backline that you really can't do much to stop.
Yeah, and I think you kind of said it earlier already, it's just how safe both AD carries are playing in the midway. It means it's really difficult to try and catch Caliste. But if you try and play for sides, you've always got Yike who can show up with the ultimate, you've got Vladi who could try and realm warp in. This is where a game like this becomes suffocating for MKOI, and you kind of just have to take your chance. Like, pick one, try and snipe them off, and hope that you won't get the counter punch coming through from KC.
May I just say, Supa's position in this game, not only is he going to take so much damage from Calista's accelerated, but how hard is it as a Senna to itemize against AP burst mages, things like Ryze, things like Akali? When all that's diving on his head, Supa has to be in the perfect place at the perfect time, and in 45 seconds you're going to find out if KOI are in time to stop this soul that KC have been mounting slowly but surely.
Yeah, the wave is pushed in on bot side though, and I saw a lot of things going on, but Myrwn doesn't have TP to try and answer, so Canna just going to try and push out that wave and then give them a ton of opportunities to try and get into positions here. There's just very little vision for MKOI as to what KC are up to in this river.
I love Dagda. You know, you don't have to, I don't know what you apologize there for, but that's just the nice guy in you showing up. You're getting us ready in a very nice, soothing way for 15 seconds of the fight. KOI maybe the same flash. Engage the all-in. It works. Caliste is down. He's caught out. This is giving me deja vu, but Targamas recovers the fight, puts him up against the wall, and Canna slices right through. Myrwn sidestep, but Canna shuriken flip. He's landed that. He's got no HP. He goes back in. Supa flashes the
jumping block, but somehow they burst through everyone.
It's Caliste that falls first. The engage from KOI looks clean, but the arrival of Canna changes everything. A beautiful charm comes through from Targamas to set up for the execution from Canna. A fantastic fight gives space for Vladi to then work with Yike to clean things up. And then Canna thinks to himself, oh, you know what, maybe I can actually do enough damage to kill him. But then Supa gets the better of it.
Man, having a Ryze with that engaged Targamas, big props, and Dagda said it best. How the hell did KC win that fight?
Look at that damage.
There's the Akali top damage at 23 minutes into the game. Let's also add in Ryze early. Let's add in a Pantheon because Caliste wasn't in that fight. That was a superb effort from the French.
I mean, it's really understandable why so many considered Canna MVP material of the splits, and it's because he's just, his impact in games where he even has a slight lead is always so noticeable.
Yeah.
2K with the Akali is the lead. They secured the soul. They've set their sights now on the Rakan, which they're likely going to get completely uncontested. KC in firm control of game one.
Yeah, and especially as Jake was already highlighting there, the fact you've got Hex Tech Soul now for KC off the back of it, yeah, it was a phenomenal circle, great circle usage. But yeah, I think it's just, this is so difficult, and for MKOI, it's got to be a little disheartening. Like, you're coming off the back of having that big win, but this is a different level from KC, and I think MKOI going to be going back and kind of re-looking at things, saying, how do we again try and go back to containing KC and getting that win?
I mean, KOI showed the formula for what a good fight can look for them. A really nice engage comes through from Elyoya, the immediate shutdown onto Caliste. The problem is, Elyoya used his ulti pretty much on one, maybe two targets. Alvaro used his ultimate onto a single target, and we've realized that that's not enough. You need to have those ultimate hitting onto multiple people and getting a lot of initial damage down at the start of the fight if you want to turn this game in your favor, or you find a way to stall this game out long enough that Supa in isolation becomes a win condition and Senna's range and damage becomes too monstrous for KC to deal with.
I feel like that's up KOI's wheelhouse. Supa is the monster of the league that, like Caliste, right, can carry over these fights, but
you got to get there.
You got to get there. That's, I was going to say, it's a very different state because I feel like what we've seen of Supa is we've seen him on carries like the Kalista, like the Xayah. You know, the Lucian game I remember as well when he got a big early lead. It wasn't a win, but still the lead came. KOI can't lean on that just yet. Now, push here from KC towards mid.
Canna's behind though.
Top wave getting done as well. Quickness onto Alvaro. He runs away. Realm Warp to catch him as well. And the support engages down. KC have got numbers again as they open up mid alongside.
KC are just collapsing so fantastically on the map. Canna pushes in bot, you get the push in top, and everyone just jumps onto the mid lane tower. Catches out Alvaro and might catch themselves a Baron.
Canna fancies Jojo right now. Shuriken flip. The fan of knives are out. It's a great charm. The binding comes through. They know exactly where he is. Canna gets tagged, but at the edge, he'll still take it. Jumps in, Shuriken flip. He has to ulti out. Doesn't want to go back in. The Dawning Shadow will not catch his life. Canna played with them, toyed with them while Baron went down at the cost of no lives.
They need to try and get out of here though. Vladi's walked away. No Realm Warp available, but they're going.
Stuns up. Myrwn wanted the kill, but now he's going to severely regret the day he walked into KC. KOI are going to stun him up, try and get their way out. He knows, Elyoya, that there's only one way out, and that's in a coffin. As KOI are getting picked apart. This game no longer close.
KC are just tearing KOI asunder. Every single pick, every single skirmish, KOI, they're just getting caught out everywhere. And Canna drawing so many tools in the mid lane as well to then get away to safety just adds insult to injury. Vladi, he's getting dangerously low.
He is. Alvaro will get the engage, but it's about the follow-up here. Supa orders him down. Shutdown goes to Alvaro, unfortunately, but it's a kill. The turnabout play, Flash calls down, and Alvaro has to escape once again as Supa's just trying to use his range, but with Hex Tech Soul, there will be no more chase while another turret just goes down for the cost of that kill.
Definitely a whoopsie from Vladi, but it does mean that Canna's able to get that bot lane turret, and KC continue to push MKOI back further and further into their base. The unused Hourglass from Vladi means it's less likely to happen a second time, but
true.
At least it's a little bit of go for MKOI, with still map control for KC.
Bloodletter's Curse coming through from Jojo to add a little bit more magic shreds, hoping for Myrwn to do more damage, but the problem is, I keep looking at that top lane matchup. Canna with a 2-level lead, a 3.4k gold lead, 3 fully completed items with the upgraded boots as well. I mean, Canna has just had a monster performance in this game one, and don't let the scoreline deceive you. His impact in these fights has been absolutely crazy.
found out as well, thank you to our production team, he's 2-6 on Akali in his career. It feels like that score's just about to jump up, and you couldn't tell by this performance. Outside of the insanity there, I mean, Targamas, his engage have been fantastic. He shows it once more to Alvaro, who's slowed down and will not be moving from that piece of ground. Kaliste with another, and the Realm will bringing in KC with Baron to try and end game one right in its track. Supa, he's caught out as Vladi looks for the stun. He'll flash in under turret, but Vedi says he has a secret tool in the arsenal. He's not going to use it yet because he just gets his movement speed, gets on out, charmed. Okay, Zonya's beat damned. KC dropped their mid laner again.
Look, I said it was less likely he'd die, not unlike, you know. But here, a nice turnaround from MKOI and KC. Biting off more than they could shoot. They could have just turned for the mid lane tower, could have opened up the structure, but this is kind of where we have seen KC at times fumble, is this excitement that comes into the game.
I'm not gonna lie, Vladi, he's just playing way too cocky. He is playing way too arrogantly. The game is not over yet, and honestly, he's wasting a lot of time. The Elder is now alive, and with him still dead for 20 seconds, this is a huge window for KOI. If they can steal the Elder, that's all they need to turn the whole game around.
KC have to look for some kind of pick before they get here, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Canna, see if he can get Myrwn.
Oh, he got him with the shuriken flip, and that damage puts him to half HP. Before the fight even begins, that guy is stressing right now because the whole of KOI have to walk into a pit where Vladi might not be there, but 4 Fed members are.
But they're just trying to keep them away from the pit. It's Caliste just doing his damnedest, but here we go.
Onto Canna, but he's in the shroud. He shuriken flips out. He's stunned up. He's Zonya's now. But look at the Elder. It's going to drop. Canna will die, but for the Jojopyun to fall in response is going to be called worth.
All right, so Canna kind of pays for Vladi's sins there. He makes sure that KOI cannot get into the pit. He draws all 5 members' attention, keeps them in the jungle, and this buys the space for Caliste and Yike to secure the Elder Dragon. So that potential turnaround win condition now denied from KOI.
Yeah, that was a big save from Canna and Co, because if MKOI had gotten towards the pit at all, they could look for that fight with Vladi down, but for KC fans, very happy that they were able to keep them at bay. Does mean that KC probably won't get a lot of time to get value from this Elder Dragon, because you're still waiting on Canna to come back up and to get space in the map. You can see MKOI, while you have to deal with that, or have to push out these waves, but still might get a wave to play on, but it's more about denying MKOI from getting it in such a dire situation.
With 9.5 in your pocket, with so much control around the map, as you said earlier, KOI just have to kind of think about what they do for the next couple of games. Now, of course, Supa is still scaling in this game, and we've seen crazy things in the LEC this split, this year, that nothing is over. Nothing is done. Not until the Nexus falls at the very least.
Yeah, I do think for MKOI, it's going to come down to this Baron fight in a minute 20, though. They will have to try and wait out Elder before that. So they have to try and take space, but not cede complete control of KC to the Baron area, which is a very difficult dance to try and make when KC at the moment, you can already see full control over that map as soon as MKOI leave their base.
The game feels slow right now, but basically KC are just biding their time, waiting for the right wave. They still have the Elder for about 45 seconds. If they can get a fight, that would be ideal, but without the Baron empowered minions, the wave clear from KOI is enough to hold them back. Maybe they'll force a dive. Pantheon ult is coming through.
Yeah, they want to take it with Elder. They force it, no problem. Jojo's out. Stun's going to miss, but it opens access to the tier 3 turret. KC have now opened an inhibitor alongside it. Canna moves towards mid. One brick falls, the whole wall goes with it.
Another inhibitor going to be secured. Respect still being shown by KOI as the Elder, 10 seconds left. And now the Baron could be the focus for KC. So the momentum was riding high. Vladi made 2 mistakes, I will say, which slowed the game down a little bit. But now KC back in the driver's seat. They picked apart the base. And now they're lying in wait for a pick, hoping that KOI face check in what is the darkness and full of terror.
I love Canna's positioning, though. MKOI need to go forward, which means that Supa will be available on that back line, and that's all they're looking for, is Canna to get access to Supa in a fight. And MKOI have no idea. They're going in dark.
One ward to be cleared out, none left remaining. Alvaro's been the engage, he needs a miracle, but KC surely won't let that happen. Canna sits over the wall. Alvaro a great engage, but they need follow-up with the dawning darkness following in. KOI hope, they wish for a prayer, but already the engage is down. Supa's about to burn too, and KC just run it forward. There was no dream, no way for KOI back in this game, and KC have made sure those underdogs stay dead.
Targamas with the fantastic counter-engage. Phenomenal denial of the follow-up means that KC clean sweep the fight, and they set their sights on the Nexus.
Great stuff from KC, a commanding game number 1 to start off the series.
This is what you expect. This is our first seed. This is our first stand representative. It's only game 1, and you don't want to be an Andy, but as Andrew Vedius would say, it's only just begun for the French.
Is that what I would say?
I've heard you say that like 3 times today.
If you've been called a game 1 Andy, that's exactly what you would say.
Fantastic performance. I was a little bit scared about the comp from KC, but the way they skirmished, the way they found picks, very clean across the board.